because of you!
The man almost died, escaped from the battlefield, and found his wife cheating on him with his brother. In order to maintain the family, he chose to remain silent, but his daughter's words made him completely broken.
Dad!
Isabel!
You're just mad because Mom would rather sleep with Uncle Tommy than you.
Isabel! Why would you say that?
Mom and Uncle Tommy have sex all the time!
Enough!
The daughter revealed the man's scars in public. At the same time, it also makes the family's hidden troubles visible. Unbeknownst to her, once McGuire had a beautiful family. He was a captain in the U.S. Special Forces. He was a captain in the U.S. Special Forces, a man of great faith, a man who took his country and his honor very seriously. And he had a family too. To the untrained eye, he was the perfect man in every way. In contrast, his brother Jake was a different person. He was cynical, he got into fights, he had a record. He's a cynic, a brawler, and has a criminal record. He's always been a bit of a pain in the arse in the family. Recently, the U.S. Army was surprised by the war in Afghanistan, and McGuire was told to go to fight in a battle. The family sent him off, praying for his safe return. But the battlefield is unpredictable. McGuire was on a mission. McGuire's plane was attacked by Afghan militia, and news of his death soon reached home. His wife, Natalie, was devastated, unable to accept the brutal truth. Jake was also devastated by the loss of his brother. He decided to turn over a new leaf and take on the burden of his family in his brother's absence. In the days that followed, Jake would often help Natalie with her daily chores. Noticing that the kitchen was old and small, he called a friend to renovate it. He hoped that the new house would help his sister-in-law out of her gloomy state. The daughters loved their uncle. Seeing Jake make up for the lack of fatherly love from his two children, Natalie had a smile on her face that she hadn't seen in a long time. It is said that time breeds love, and as the two of them gradually get along, they can't help but kiss each other under the effect of alcohol. The moment of truth. Reason still made them hold onto their moral ground, but neither of them could have imagined that, instead of being killed in action, McGuire and his surviving teammates become prisoners and face a test of humanity. The American soldier suffers a narrow escape but falls into the hands of local extremists, along with his men. The two were beaten and thrown into a deep pit, and the doorway was boarded up. They were held there for 2 months, during which time they were subjected to inhumane treatment. But McGuire instructed his men not to disclose any information about the operation, no matter what. Soon after, they were taken to a canyon and forced to record video evidence. This is Afghan land, and Americans are not supposed to be here. But the two men refused to cooperate, so they pulled out red-hot steel rods and went wild on the soldiers' bodies. With his life in danger, the subordinate spirit crumbles, and it does what the extremists say, not only giving out military intelligence, but also recording a video insulting his country. But that wasn't the end of the story, as the Afghan soldiers took out a crowbar and threatened McGuire's wife and daughter, forcing him to kill his subordinate. His wife and daughter, and his desire to survive, have turned the man black. The extremists were recording this brutal scene with their cameras. It wasn't long before the place was attacked by American troops. The extremists were wiped out. McGuire was rescued. The camera was destroyed by the fire, and it was as if everything had disappeared. At the same time, his wife, accompanied by Jake, was able to get her life back on track. On this day, Natalie is cooking while Jake plays with his daughters outside. The picture is very warm, and at this moment, suddenly received the news that her husband is still alive. The woman is so shocked and happy that she rushes to the airport with her children to meet him. The family hugged each other tightly. Jake, on the other hand, had mixed feelings when he saw all this. The man returned home safe and sound, but he didn't realize that he was greeted with another layer of hell. In the bathroom, the woman stroked her husband's scarred back, heartbroken, subconsciously wanting to go for it to hug and kiss, but the man looked disgusted, straight to nausea. Apparently, McGuire is not the same as he used to be, and as he looks at his brother and his wife and daughter, he is having a great time at the skating rink. Inside cannot help but begin to suspect, finally could not help but ask his brother a question.
Did you fuck her?
What's going on in your head?
Seeing his brother's denial, McGuire couldn't pursue the question. After all, in his eyes, it was a confession of guilt. Since then, McGuire's behavior has become more and more erratic, and when he hears a dog barking at night, McGuire's behavior became more and more erratic. He became extremely nervous when he heard the dog barking at night, and even became dangerous when he was alone with his daughter. Natalie, as his wife, saw it all, but she didn't know how to comfort him. It's her eldest daughter's birthday, and the whole family is gathered. In order to dispel his brother's suspicions, his brother Jake brought home a woman he just met an hour ago. He brought her home, who knew that the other woman was actually a nurse, and talked inappropriately about the battlefield and the hearts of soldiers who killed people. This undoubtedly touched McGuire's scales, and the atmosphere in the air dropped to freezing point. At that moment, the youngest daughter, jealous of her sister's favoritism, deliberately picks up a balloon to make an ear-splitting sound. McGuire is furious and snatches the balloon. The youngest daughter's words made her fall into a pit of ice. Why did you come back? Why didn't you die out there? Uncle and mother were already married. They slept together all the time. At that moment, everyone in the room was silent. McGuire's suspicions were answered. His head buzzed and his Saturday alone in the basement with a crowbar. He felt lost. Natalie wanted to comfort him, but she didn't know how to speak, and it was this oppressive silence that drove the man mad, and he slowly got up. He walked into his brother's newly renovated kitchen. Whether out of guilt for his subordinates or out of betrayal of his family, he finally stopped being calm and exploded. Watching this terrible scene, the woman's eyes turned red. She wanted to make things right, but her husband was becoming a stranger, pushing the family farther and farther away. Jake arrived just in time to calm his brother. He carefully reached out his arms and held him tightly in his arms. McGuire slowly calmed down. The next moment, sirens were blaring. Jake had already called the police before he arrived. At this moment, McGuire completely lost his mind, rushed straight to the door and shouted at the police. The policeman tells the man to calm down, saying he's a war hero. McGuire was in agony because he knew how he had survived. The guilt and remorse in his heart was aroused once again. He raises the gun on himself, but in the end, he doesn't have the courage to kill himself. Looking at his family, who were in pain because of him, he decided to go to a rehabilitation center for treatment, and McGuire's mental state gradually improved. Natalie has been by his side ever since, and said she and Jake only kissed once and did nothing else. And the youngest daughter's comments was simply a lie created out of hatred for her father's behavior. McGuire opened his heart. McGuire also opened up and told the truth about how he had killed his subordinate. The two were finally reunited. But here's the thing. After witnessing the brutality of war, can he really be reborn? The movie is Brothers. Sam Tobey Maguire arrives at the prison to pick up his brother, Tommy Jake Gyllenhaal, who has been released from prison. When he returns home, his mother gives him a warm welcome, but his father is cynical. Sam is serving in the U.S. Marines and is being sent to Afghanistan, so the party is a send-off for Sam in addition to a pick-me-up for Tommy. The father always compares the perfect Sam to the poor Tommy, causing the latter to leave in anger. Sam reluctantly says goodbye to his wife, Grace Natalie Portman, and their two daughters, and heads off to the battlefield. Unfortunately, the Black Hawk helicopter he is traveling in is shot down, and he and his subordinates are captured. And Sam is forced by the Afghan mob to kill his subordinates, an event that leaves him with an inner conflict. When the rearguard thinks that Sam has been killed in action, the whole family is in grief. Tommy is determined to change and slowly integrates himself into the family, not only easing the father-son relationship, but also developing a subtle bond with Grace and the children as they comfort each other. But then comes the news that Sam has survived. This is Seahorse Movie. Go, 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 go.